Hey guys, it's Neo, and today we're continuing our pinball tutorial. On the last tutorial we made the simple table setup and the boundaries along with the ball prefab, and today we're gonna set up the physics and then we're gonna do the pedals or the flippers or however you wanna call it. So firstly, let's set up the physics. Let's go to Edit, Project Settings and Physics. Okay, so in here the default value of the z-axis is 0. We're gonna set it to -7. The next thing we're gonna do is to change our position of the camera in the scene. So we look at the table like it's a real pinball table, like something like this, maybe a little more to the left. And all we're gonna do is select the main camera, go to Game Object and align with View. See, so now in the game the table is gonna look like this. So let's try our physics out. If I press play, you see the ball is moving down. Okay, so let's move the ball a little bit upwards and a little bit to the left. Press play. Okay, so it's working pretty cool. Okay, so let's move on to the sexy stuff. Now we're gonna make our flippers or pedals or however you want to call it again. We create a new cube, reset its transform position. Okay, so we're gonna make it 0.3 on the y-axis, and we're gonna scale it to a little less than 1 on the x. We're gonna make it like 0.7, and on the z-axis 0.2. Okay, so let's look at it a little bit. We're gonna have to change the transform position to half of what the y value is, so 0.15. So it actually looks out, but this is still a little too tall. Let's make it 0.2, okay, and 0.1 on the position. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna need for this is something called hinge joint. So without further ado, let's add the hinge joint, and if I zoom in you will see this little arrow here. This is our hinge joint and we need to set it up. So if this is, let's rename this to left flipper. If this is our left flipper, then this needs to be all the way on the far left side of the object, and it also needs to be pointing up. So let's set up the hinge. The anchor is the point where you see this yellow point, yellow arrow, and we're gonna have to set it a little bit more downwards. So the scale of the y is 0.2, then we're gonna set it to 0.1 here, so it's in the middle, and the anchor x is gonna be 0.7 divided by 2 is 0.35, but in this case it's -35. Okay, so this is not all the way to the left. I'm gonna set it a bit more to the left, 0.5. Okay, and the axis is also pointing in the right direction. We need it pointing in the upward direction. So axis x is gonna be 0 and axis y has to be 1. So now we see this arrow is pointing upwards. So this is what we want. Okay, so let's save the scene. Now we have to position it right on the table, and firstly we're gonna create a new material so we can see it better. Create material. I'm gonna just make I'm gonna name it flipper material I'm gonna set it to something like more blackish. Okay, and I'm gonna drag and drop this here. Okay, so now we can see our flipper a little bit better, and I'm gonna pump up the metallic value, it doesn't matter if you do or not. Okay, so now set the rect transform position to, we're gonna try it out a little bit. So if this is -6, we will try -5 first, and this actually doesn't look too bad. Maybe a bit more, -5.5. This is a little too much. I'm just gonna leave it on -5 for now. And on the X we're gonna set it to -1. Is that too much? I think that could be a bit too much, so -0.75. Okay, and now we also need to set the rotation a little bit. I'm gonna set it to 115. No, 100 is too much. Maybe more like something like 45. That's too much as well. Maybe 30. Okay, 30 looks okay to me. So save scene, and I'm gonna just duplicate this one. I'm gonna set the X position to 0.75 and the rotation to -30. Okay, so I think they're a little bit too far from one another, so I'm gonna scale them up a little to 0.8, maybe even to 1. Okay, let's use 1. Okay, so now we save the scene, and let's set up the second hinge joint. You see it's all the way to the left now. If you really pay attention to it, you can see it's here, yes. So now we're gonna set it to the other side. So the anchor of this is not gonna be minus, but 0.5. Is it here? Can you see it? Yes, it's here. Okay, so this is okay. I'm gonna rename this to right flipper. And now that we have everything set up, let's create the script that's gonna be moving the flippers. Okay, so right click, create C# script. Let's call it flipper script, and let's open it up in Unity. So this is the previous script I was working on, it doesn't matter. Okay, so I'm gonna delete these comments because I don't like them. Okay, so first thing we're gonna set up is we're gonna need a public float called rest position equals 0f, 0 value. The next thing we're gonna need is a public float called rest position equals 45 by default. We're going to change this. We can change these values later in the inspector because they're public. So public float called hit strength. I'm going to set it to 10,000 for now. It doesn't really matter. And we're gonna also need a public float called flipper damper, and it's gonna be 150. Let's say 150 for now. Okay, so we're also gonna have to get string called input name. So this input name is gonna be the name of the axis. We're gonna check in the update if input dot get axis of the input name equals to 1, we're gonna do some stuff. So first, before we finish coding this, we're gonna have to set up the input. So save scene, edit, project settings, input, and here we're gonna have to set up 2 new axes. So set the size to 20 and select this and rename it to L Flipper. So the positive button should be something like, I don't know, I'll just use the letter A. Oh, I can't, why not? A? Okay, it has to be small case. Okay, so this is our left flipper, and set up the right flipper as well, and the positive button should be D. I'm gonna use D, you can use whatever you want. Okay, so let's save scene. Now that we have our inputs, we should go back to the script, and I'm gonna attach this script to the flippers before we finish it. Just click on it, and here where you see the input name, type it exactly like it was in the project settings in the input. So left flipper, and this is going to be R flipper. Okay, so we need to set these values a little. So for the left flipper, the rest position is 0, the pressed position should be, I think, -45 on the left one. The heat strength, we'll set up this later, and the damper, we're gonna check it out if it's working or not. Okay, so this is our left one. Let's use our right one as well. So yeah, this is okay for the right one, I think. So now that we got everything set up, I think we should try it out first. Oh. So you see they're swinging freely. The hinges are kind of working, but they're not set up correctly yet. So we need to set up the hinge limits and stuff like that in the code that we got here. So open up your code. In the start function, we have to say hinge. I'm just gonna make a new variable, hinge equals, oh, I have to declare it first. So hinge joint hinge. Okay, so this is gonna be hinge equals get component hinge joint. Okay, so this is our hinge, and we're gonna say hinge dot use spring equals true. Okay, so this is the first part in the start function. Let's move on to the update. We're gonna say joint spring equals a new joint spring. Okay, and we're gonna set that spring dot spring to be equal to our heat strength. Okay, so to this value. Okay, so now our spring, we have to also set up our spring damper equals to our damper, flipper damper. Yeah. Okay, and next we're gonna check if this button is pressed, this input that we set up earlier. We're gonna say if the button is pressed, then spring dot target position equals our pressed position. Yeah. Else the spring target position is gonna be equal to our rest position. So if the button is not pressed, it goes back to the same position it was in the start. Okay. So now, after this else statement, we have to say hinge dot spring equals spring, and our hinge should be using the limits, so use limits equals true. Okay, I hope this works. We're also gonna check this box, motor use limits. Okay, enable pre-processing is also enabled. Okay, let's save the scene. We're also gonna set the ball so it doesn't fall right past the flippers. So I think this should be it. Let's save scene. I like to save the scenes a lot, as you can see. Okay, so now if we press play, nothing is happening yet. Yeah, the hinge joint has some parameters in limits. We need to set the limits to -45, let's say -45. Let's do this also on the other flipper, limits -45. Let's try if this works now. I hope. Okay, so this one works, the left one, the other one, the right flipper needs the limit of 45, I think. Yeah, okay, so they're working now, but as you can see, the ball fell right through. So that is because we need to set up a rigid body. We're gonna set the mass to 20, the angular drag to 0, and the collision detection should be continuous dynamic. Okay, so let's save that. Also change that to the left flipper, 0, 0, 20 mass, and collision detection to continuous dynamic. Okay, let's save, press play. Okay, so now we can see the ball is bouncing off, and we're gonna need to tweak the values a little. As you can see, the flipper is currently bouncing up and down a little. It's nothing terrible. We're just gonna have to set this damper a little higher, I think. Let's try 100 on both. Save scene, hit play. It's a little better, I think. So I think we're gonna have to use a little bit more force, but this is basically it. The hinges are working, and they bounce the ball around, so the ball won't fall through anymore. And yeah, we're just gonna need to set the power of the spring a little higher. Let's say 20,000, it's just on the right for now, but oh no, let's set it to 10,000, and we're gonna have to create a new physics material, not material but physics material here, and we're gonna call it icy material. So this icy material, we're gonna set the dynamic friction to 0 and static friction also to 0. Doesn't need bounciness. The friction combined should be minimum. Save scene and apply this icy material to our table. Bam. Okay, so let's save scene and try this again. Okay, the ball is moving too fast right now, but it's more realistic, I think. So I think this is it for this tutorial. The pedals are working. So yeah, thanks for watching and see you next time. But before we try it, let's set we have to set the limits to our hinge joints here in the inspector. So for the right flipper, we're gonna set the maximum value to 45, and for the left flipper we're gonna set the minimum value to -45. Okay, so save scene, press play, and it's working. Okay, great. We're also gonna apply this physics material, icy material that we did before to the ball prefab. Select the ball prefab and hit apply. So the material is icy. Let's try again. Whoa, the ball is moving a little too fast. So let's go to edit, project settings, physics, and change this from -7 to -5. For now, let's try again. Okay, so the flippers are working. Next thing we're gonna do is to set this bounce here so it drives the ball to the flipper. Let's do it now. So right click on the hierarchy, create 3D object cube, reset the transform position. We're gonna pull it down a little, so let's see, around 4 is okay. So -4 on the z-axis. We're gonna tilt it a little on the y, let's say around -20 for the left, -20. We're gonna scale it, so x, 1 on the x is okay. On the y-axis we're gonna say 0.5. On the z-axis is 0.1. No, I'm sorry. On the z-axis is 1. On the x-axis is 0.1. Okay, so I'm gonna just switch it up a little here. Oh, so it's taller now than the flipper. It's okay. We'll pimp this out later. So -1.5 will maybe work. Yeah. Actually, no, it's not gonna work. I'm gonna put it right here. So I don't know why it keeps switching into services. So -1.3. 5. Okay. So I'm quite happy with that. Okay, we're gonna pimp it out a little bit later, but for now it's okay. So now I'm gonna duplicate this and set the X position to be 1.35 and the rotation to 20 for the right one. Okay, so let's hit play. Okay, so the flippers are working. This was the goal for this tutorial. We're gonna make it a little nicer in the later parts. So this is it for this part. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys liked it. See you guys in the next tutorial that's gonna be coming soon, I think today or maybe tomorrow. Okay, so have a good day. See you.